welcome back to That Married Couple podcast.
I'm Nava.
And I'm Kian, and welcome to this episode, which is all about dating online.
Yes, we have horror stories, love stories, and everything in between. And potentially the most exciting thing of all is that we will be trying online dating for the very first time to see what it's all about.
You've been dating online? You've been what?
Oh my goodness.
This is news to me.
Well, have we piqued your interest? Hopefully. Stay tuned and see what we're all talking about.
And as always, we'll be answering a question sent in by you. This episode's question is about knowing when you're ready for marriage.
Yes, and in our episodes, we want you to think of us as your married besties, talking love, life, and learning as we figure it all out together.
And as always, we want this to be an open space for anyone, regardless of background. And our goal isn't to provide the answer, but to explore many ways of doing things. We want to learn alongside you and spark deeper conversations in your own lives and relationships.
So, in the interest of learning things together, and because we're both learning through this process as well, we thought we'd take a minute to discuss what we've learned, thought about, or implemented based on our discussion last episode.
So last episode's topic was about societal norms and social forces that impact our relationships. We talked about things like the rise of individualism, the role of relationships beyond the two individuals in a relationship, and also talked about the influence of social media on our relationships. Relationship.
Yes, of course it was about relationships. So let's talk about what we have thought about or implemented since our last episode. For me, the biggest thing that I've been thinking about is this idea of social media or slowcial media that you spoke about, where there's such a pull to be really hooky and to do extreme things to keep retention on social media. And I think because we've put our relationship online, I felt a real pull, especially on social media with the podcast, to do things that are hooky and that maybe aren't actually as, I guess, real and true to what our relationship is like. And I've really had to find myself being like, no, we need to protect our relationship at all costs, not just do things for the algorithm.
That's such an interesting insight, I think. And obviously it's something that we try to be as conscious as we can, but it's, I think, a fantastic point. Even taking it beyond just us being obviously, I was going to say open in our relationship, which is true, not an open relationship, delineation. But like in general, I think performing for social media in your relationships, I guess, as well is a very common thing that like across a regular relationship, not just something that you're potentially having like a podcast or from online, but just what you think people are expecting out of your relationship or how to post as well, I can imagine is a regular problem.
Yeah. So it made me feel like if you're not trying to actively do something with your relationship, like we're actively trying to make a positive difference if we can with how we're presenting our relationship online. But if you're not trying to do something like that, maybe don't post on social media. Just be with the two of you. I don't know. That's been my reflection the last week, and it probably will change in the future, but that's what I'm thinking about.
My kind of key thing was actually related more to the question, because in that episode we spoke about jealousy was the question that we discussed. And we spoke about like the idea of being really conscious of how your actions could be perceived by others in a way that is ensuring that you're really valuing the relationship that you're in, and you're really setting that example of this is the person that's important to me and all the different things that we can do that are important for that. And it was just, I think I was just so much more conscious even after the discussion in general, like around the office and in all these situations. It was really useful to kind of sense check in those scenarios. Oh, let's make sure that I'm really giving the right perception that I want to be giving in this scenario. So I actually personally found it very useful.
We'd also love to know what you guys have thought about since our last episode. If you have had any experiences, please share them in the comments. Let us know so we can all keep learning about this stuff together.
Perfect. So let's jump into our game now.
Yes.
Just to sort of whet our appetites as we get into today's topic. What's our game this week now?
Okay, so obviously today's episode is called Does Online Dating Work? So our game today is called Love at First Prompt. So we've taken prompts from Hinge, directly from Hinge. Obviously we know on online dating apps, you need to answer prompts about yourself so people can get to know you. And what we're going to do with those prompts is I'm going to try and guess how Kian would answer it for him, and he's going to try and guess how I would answer them for me. So we'll see if we know each other. Hopefully we do after a few years of marriage.
You'd hope so. We'll see. So the first prompt we have here is the way to win me over.
Okay, so I think, Kian, what you would say would probably be like, play a round of golf with me or come to watch a football game with me. That would be, I don't know, because when I do those things, you really like it.
Yeah,
would
true.
you put that on your Hinge profile?
Oh, well, if I had a Hinge profile, way to win me over. It's probably a really good, I think sharing interests in general. Maybe things like long walks on the beach, sunset strolls and picnics.
Oh,
and
yeah.
playing with puppies. But no, I think that's actually really good. I think that's a really, I think sharing my interests would have been one of the things. And at least something that you do so well is try to enjoy my interests. And I think you're really open with it. You don't force yourself to do it and pretend like you're having a good time if you're not. But I do really enjoy the fact that you're very open to trying things. So
Okay.
I've already found my perfect Hinge match. But
Wow.
okay, what would you say for way to win me over? My brain went straight to like Pink Panther and
Yes.
Pink Panther quotes.
Yes. That's where my brain went to.
Great.
I was like, either you have to know or be willing to watch Pink Panther and quote it, and or listen to High School Musical songs. Those are my two things. And Kian has done both of them.
Yeah, that's the entry criteria to Nava's heart. So good to know.
If you want to be friends, you know how to get in with me.
Yeah, sorry, the lovers bit is taken.
Yeah.
So, but friends is okay.
Friends, watch Pink Panther.
All right.
All right. The second one was my most irrational fear.
This is hard because Nava's a very brave and just like perfect person.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much.
But the other thing I could think of, it was like cockroaches. Oh, sorry, I always said that wrong.
No, that was right.
It was right.
Cockroaches.
Cockroaches.
He says cockroach sometimes.
Yeah, there's a few
but
words
that's
like
okay.
that. But yeah, cockroaches, I think. But I don't know if that's irrational. I think that's like a lot of people's fear in general. But that's the main thing I've seen you get super jumpy at
Yeah.
and scared by.
I don't know what else I would say for that question, but I just want to make it clear. Yesterday, there was a cockroach in our bathroom, and I didn't make a big deal of it at all. I went, because it literally flew at my face. And Kian was like, oh, what happened? And I was like, oh, there's a massive cockroach in our bathroom. And I was so chill about it. So maybe it's not a fear anymore because I'm just so brave.
You're just perfect. And I think it was like one of those like little small ones. It was like a proper like
big, fat
scary
cockroach. But anyway.
I killed it in the end. Sorry
Yes.
if any animal lovers out there.
Sorry about
If there's
that.
any cockroach lovers on listening.
Oops. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Kian's most irrational fear, spiders.
Is entirely rational. Very rational.
I think, but would you say that on your Hinge profile, spiders?
Yeah,
If you
I'd have
chose
to.
that
I think that's the
prompt?
main thing that I'm like, because I'm not scared of heights or anything like that. It's literally just spiders. And for whatever reason, terrifies me.
But he still tries to kill them though, like, or take them out. He won't just like leave them or make me do it. He's like, no, I need to be the one that does it. And then he stands there and stares at the spiders for ages.
Like these
before
like
he can build
adrenaline
up
highs and these like sweats when it
Yeah.
takes me like 30 minutes to try and kill a spider. But like in general, like where we live, like living in Australia, it's something you kind of have to just get used to. You get big spiders. But like there was one, we called it, what do we call it?
Felicia.
Felicia
lived
massive
outside our door
spider
for
that used to
ages.
live
It was,
outside
like,
our house.
This big.
And you'd have to like run underneath it every day to get like to and from like the house. And Nava was always chilling. I would always be freaking out. So yeah, okay, spiders. All right, final one. It's not a holiday unless. Now I thought of a few things here for you. One of them was like you go to Disneyland because
That's a good
so
one.
far every time we've spoken about a holiday, it's like, can we get to Disneyland? I kind of thought like unless you do every single possible thing that you could do in the place that you're at and maximize on the opportunity. I'm getting a vibe that this is wrong. So let's hear what the tea is.
Both of them are kind of like yes, but my big thing with this, how I would answer it, is it's
Can I say
Okay,
something? Okay, this could be. Is it like that? Whatever happens, you have fun, and it's like it's fun if things go wrong.
Yes. I was going to say it's not a holiday unless everything goes wrong
Yeah,
and it's fun
okay.
anyway. I've had a lot of experiences with that and I just think it's so fun when things go wrong and you're like, YOLO, let's figure it out.
I think I hopefully kind of saved that right at the end. We'll give that like a passing grade. 'Cause I
Yeah,
sort of came
passing
in last
grade.
minute. All right.
Okay, for you,
Mm.
I think it's not a holiday unless you have freshly made bread.
Such a good shout. Such a good shout. I think that's perfect. I honestly
Did you
wouldn't-
have an idea of how you
I
would answer?
didn't, but that that
That
seems to be
sounds
it.
right.
Every time we've gone anywhere, like that's like the vibe. Obviously, we went to Paris a few months ago. God, time flies. And all I did was eat bread. Love it.
And even on our honeymoon, the buffet had fresh bread and
Bread.
you were like, bread,
Yeah.
give me bread. So I'm going to say that one.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
All right. Shall we get into the episode content, Nava?
Yes, let's. Okay, so here's the juicy stuff. We went online dating. Well, we set up dating profiles so we could see what it was like firsthand because neither of us had actually experienced it. But with that, we had to set up a lot of structures to make sure we actually protect our relationship in that. And I feel like that kind of comes into the discussion on social media and being hooky and all of that stuff. But some of the things that we did was we made sure that when we were setting up a profile, but we never actually made it live, or we We deleted it as soon as
there was a moment we weren't supposed to make it live, but like it kind of happens, and like
it didn't let you go out of it.
Go out, and so Nava was panicking because her account was live with her photos. And she's like, "Ah!"
I was like, "How do I delete it? I don't want anyone to see."
I mean, like luckily, like Nava accidentally set her profile. She set it as straight, but then set her interest to women,
and it showed me women.
So I guess like there wasn't maybe as much of an issue with it, but terrified.
That was scary. But anyway, our goal was to not actually put our profiles on there so that no one could see it. We deleted it within maybe 0.1 of a second. So
if you have seen us on Hinge,
you know why. This is why.
Yeah, everything's great. Everything's fine.
Yes. And then the other thing is we also wanted to see what it was like to look through profiles, but we didn't want our faces to be there. So we made fake profiles, which it let us do.
Really?
From
quite
photos
worrying.
online.
Yeah, and there's like a validation process where you have to get like your phone number checked and your email checked, but like nothing that kind of sense checked if this was a real person or not. Or,
no, like Kian's photos were like 6 different people, just like stock photo models, and it let him put it on. So catfishing is a real issue, I think.
I would assume, yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk about more of our experience as we go through, because the other thing we did in this episode is we interviewed a whole bunch of people who have experienced online dating. Whether they have had positive experiences, negative experiences, are still in the process of using it. We interviewed them and we've got their answers to show you.
And as we go through and speak about all the different answers and insight, we'll also share some of the insights that we were able to gain from our limited experience that we got setting up an app. But mostly it's going to be steered by all of the amazing insights we've got from all these people that have given us such interesting and fascinating views into the world of online dating.
Yes. So thank you if you're the people who responded to our polls online or messaged us with all of your answers. We really appreciate it. And we have a multiple page document, so we might share it and change the names if people are interested. Let us know if you want to actually go through and read the answers yourselves, because it's super duper interesting.
Also, some of the answers are hilarious. Like some of the funniest things I've read were in some of the answers as well. We'll give you some of them today, but there's a lot more there as well.
Yes. Okay, cool.
So the first question that we asked was, how did you find your experience online dating?
Yes. We had lots of different experiences. Some people have found their spouse on there. Some people have found someone that they're dating, and then others are struggling out there.
Yeah. So I guess in each of these questions as well, we've kind of drawn out one key quote that we got, and then we'll speak through some of the other sort of key insights that we gained. So the key quote that we wanted to speak from this one is as follows. It was that it's so transactional. It's like a food menu. If you don't like chicken, you swipe to get beef. It creates this illusion that you can keep swiping and you'll find the perfect person. But the perfect person does not exist.
Yes. So in terms of people's experiences, everything was mixed, I think. In general, with online dating, people had mixed reviews and mixed experiences. But one trouble that people mentioned was that being ghosted was a big thing.
Yeah, consistently and across like multiple questions, ghosting seems to be a real challenge that people have in this sort of forum. Yeah.
Yeah. And then quite a few people that we interviewed said that you need to take breaks from the app, recharge, and then go back to it, because it can affect your mental health and all of these things. And I guess also in this discussion, we'll be talking about the positive and negatives, and the questions go into that in more detail. But this is more about their general experiences.
It was interesting as well, like, and it kind of makes sense. A lot of people spoke about the importance of choosing the right platform when you're online dating. Like, and obviously there's a perception about like each platform kind of suits a different niche. And you have like Hinge, for the most part, seems to be really targeted towards those longer term relationships for the most part. Whereas like something like Tinder is a shorter term sort of more of a hookup kind of app. And so I think noting that wasn't always the case for the people that we spoke to, but there was a real kind of focus on make sure that you're using the right app to start out so you can give yourself the best chance for success.
Yeah. And we did have people who have met their life partner on apps like Tinder. But interestingly, so we chose to look at Hinge for the one that we were going to go through, because it seemed to be the one that the most people had found their forever person or whatever on. And I thought it was so interesting that the tagline is, I think it's designed to be deleted.
Yeah.
And it's all set up to like, you don't want to stay on this app forever just finding people. You want to find your person and then you can delete the app. So I thought that was really cute.
It was also interesting hearing from people about like how often friends seem to create the accounts for them.
Yes.
Like multiple people were like, oh, like I wasn't really going to do it. And then my friends created an account. So I guess I did it. And at first I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of funny. It takes time and effort to create one of these accounts.
It does.
Credit to these friends because it was like a proper examination into like your like who you are as a person.
You have to say your whole life story. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't care. But I guess it's good because it targets you specifically to certain people.
Yeah.
But yeah, go the friends who set it up. You're real ones for sticking it through all those questions.
A few people spoke about this idea as well of dating apps being a real kind of artificial process and something that's maybe a little bit, I don't want to say unnatural, but like that kind of experience where it's not as, I don't want to say what's like normal because like this is, to use everyone's favorite term, the new normal, but it's so different to maybe how relationships were approached in the past where instead of the kind of that courting phase, you're straight into the, who's this person? Do I like them? Okay, we like each other. Let's start chatting. They spoke about some of the challenges that exist in that sort of the artificialness of that entire process.
Well, it's less organic because like, for example, I just also want to say that Kiana and I were very lucky to not have to do online dating. We met in quite a traditional way and then developed a friendship from there. And so by the time we decided to officially date each other or investigate for marriage, whatever you want to call it, we already knew each other and we knew that we liked each other. Whereas you have to jump straight into the, I like you, I think you're pretty, shall we see if we're right to each other? Which for me, I would be so scared to do that because you're really putting yourself out there. So props to people who are trying online dating. It's really brave.
On that point as well, like one of the things somebody else spoke about was this idea of it being a real game of hot or not. And our experience was even with Hinge, which again is tailored as being more of a general relationship thing, it still was so targeted on looks. Like when you go through the profile, if you haven't seen it before, and we might be able to flash something up here depending on how good my editing skills are. It's yes, you have the prompts about you, but it's still like major photo, major photo, major photo. And the prompts just kind of break up the photos as well. So there's a real focus on that baseline level attraction. And we'll speak about this more later on because each of these points we go into later as people go into a little bit more depth later on. But it also makes it harder to sometimes move past that initial stage of attraction. And in real life, when you meet someone, there might be something that you actually become attracted to them about that you lose in that initial sort of swiping or quickly scanning through a profile. So I think that kind of sets the sort of scene
a little bit, yeah.
I think it's time to start going into the detail.
Going into the details.
Shall we get in?
All right, yes. Okay. So the second question we asked people were, what are the challenges of online dating?
Do you want to go through sort of our highlighted quote for this?
A highlighted quote? Yes, of course. It is, I think more generally, dating apps contribute to people having a negative sense of modern society. When you take something that exists naturally in the relationships between people and let companies dominate access to it in a way that is ultimately designed to serve their interests, not ours. It's a bit like needing to pay money to sit on a beach.
I think that was such a like deep insight and such an interesting way to look at it, particularly the idea of like the company angle.
Yeah.
Like seeing it as obviously these things aren't fully created to serve you. There's a deeper purpose behind it. Even when we were creating our app, I was saying we're giving so much of our data here.
Yes.
I was like, surely there's some kind of reason behind it. But it kind of comes into that artificial nature as well to a certain extent, right? Like there's a clear intention and purpose that they have for a dating app as well. They want to keep you on the app. Like even Hinge speaks about it wanting to be deleted, but from like an app perspective,
it's very addictive.
It's very addictive, and that's what they want, right? Because like as a business, they want to keep you on the app. They want you to purchase a more premium like version as well, which is one of the other points people said was this idea of like purchasing like additional plans, or again, I'm not fully sure how it works, but purchasing like the premium versions creates a much better app experience. So I think even like kind of unpacking some of that was a really interesting point.
Yeah. I think something else that people raised as a challenge, which I found really interesting, was this idea that you get into a cycle of thinking there's always something better. And that you swipe away thinking, I think we spoke about it for the last question, that the perfect person will be there. There'll be something better. Don't have to pay attention to this person. And so in one sense, you miss some potentially good people. And maybe you can also spend time on people who may not be worth it. But something else that this person said was that they found it a struggle to date multiple people at once, and that there was a real pressure to do so, but that maybe that's actually not what we would do in a more organic dating situation, because like if I met you, I would want to get to know you because I liked you in that moment in person, whereas when it's just someone who you're swiping on, you can say, okay, I'll date multiple and see what happens.
Well, and on that point as well, like the idea that there could always be a better person, right? Like, and as you're swiping through that, okay, maybe this is the person that I'm seeing now. Maybe this is the first few dates that I've gone on. But the way that it's like designed, it's like, oh, but someone who's just a little bit better could be one swipe away. Someone who's a little bit more attractive or a little bit more this or a little bit more that, which makes it so hard to actually commit to whoever it is that you're trying to deepen that relationship with.
Yeah, I agree. And I think even thinking about like, okay, in Grey's Anatomy, Meredith Grey dates Derek Shepherd and some vet, I don't remember his name, at the same time. And it's a whole big story plot that, oh my gosh, she's dating two people at the same time. This is crazy. And obviously this was in the early 2000s. I think online dating did exist, but obviously not in the form that it does today.
Yeah, this is the early stages of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, not now Grey's Anatomy. Oh my gosh.
Coming out this week.
Yeah, but it was seen as something that was kind of outlandish or rare to date multiple people at once. And I think it comes into that sort of commitment thing. Because of online dating, it's easier to not commit to things and do these things that used to be outlandish, but now are very normalized. Yeah.
I think as well, like another point that people spoke about is the very nature of the way that you're engaging with these apps as well can lead to like objectification and the nature of the way that people are conversing. Like even there's this idea of like indifference that came into it as well, where people were quite rude in these settings sometimes, where to this point on like ghosting, there's not that kind of capital, like social capital of like, oh, this is someone that I've invested in or had a conversation with. I don't want to just completely ignore them. But so often people would be having promising conversations and then say, and the person just stopped talking to me. And that's such a difficult thing to deal with in general, but is so prevalent across these apps. So it's a real challenge to try and face and deal with.
Yeah. Another thing on objectification, when we were looking through the profiles, it was crazy how much body, I guess, was shown. And I wonder whether a challenge, I feel like potentially if I was on one of these dating apps, I would feel a real pull to post things or like to have my photos in a way that maybe is not as true to myself because you feel like you need to compete with all of these other people. Yeah, so I just thought that was really interesting as well. And you're like, okay, that's pretty, that's pretty, that's pretty. And okay, but what about the person themselves? You can't really tell.
Well, and that's one of the responses that we got was saying how hard it was to really put themselves and who they are into like 6 photos and 3 prompts. Like how do you boil yourself down to that? Particularly if you have other parts of yourself that you want to try. It's such a difficult thing to really show who you are genuinely in that and make it kind of enticing and interesting as well, right? Because you have a two-sided coin. It's one thing about being this is who I am, but of course there's a certain element of like marketing yourself to what you think people are going to be looking for as well. So trying to strike that balance is really challenging with such a limited amount of content. And it's a shame because like ideally you'd be like, well, yeah, I could say like everything about myself. And I feel like way back when with like initial dating sites, as far as I'm aware, like eHarmony and stuff when it first came about, seemed a lot more focused on the deeper detail. It was a lot more like, tell us all about yourself. And it was these big paragraphs. But in general, because we've come so used to this style of quick content, that it's so hard now to really go deeper than maybe a surface level instinct. Like, oh, okay. Which is why I guess you see people dialing in so much of the sort of quick attraction. This is my body. This is this. This is that.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And then with that, a challenge that came for a lot of people, and I think this is quite obvious, but is self-esteem issues and mental health issues that can come from if you're on the apps and you haven't got any likes for a few days, or you're reaching out to people and they're ghosting you, you can feel like that's your issue. And a lot of people said this, that it chips away, and that's why they would recommend going off the dating apps and going back onto it if you're looking for a long-term partner, and that's one avenue in which you're trying to find them.
Another point as well was this idea of when you do meet someone as well, because you've already like matched with them, and to that idea of like there's so many options, there's so many people, that they felt like whenever they met people, it was like they were trying to find reasons why they weren't good or they weren't a good fit, they weren't right for them, rather than it being like a general kind of interaction where you're just kind of getting to know each other and you're not really looking so far for like, in a general, when you're courting somebody through like, whether it's at an event or like a social space, you're not straight away trying to find the critiques of, okay, so how is this person not correct?
Yeah.
But because it was so much more like a targeted, okay, well, I've liked this, what are the issues with them? It makes it hard to sort of start to build a more genuine relationship.
Yeah, well, even on Hinge, when we were looking through the profiles, you don't, I mean, I guess maybe you do like them, but the way you get to the next person is you press an X. Oh, you press an X to say, no, I don't like this person. So you're actively looking for, okay, why don't I like this person? No, next.
Yeah.
Because if I don't like them, I can see the next better thing maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's so interesting. So that speaks to some of the challenges, but it's not all a place of doom and gloom. And people actually said that there were a lot of benefits to online dating. So let's unpack what some of those are.
Yes. Okay. Shall we read our longer quote?
Let's read the longer quote. So the longer quote for the benefits was, I think it helps you to become more open-minded about what your future partner may look like or be like. For example, you might start chatting to someone online who ordinarily you might have felt wasn't your type. You can use it as an opportunity to get to know different sorts of people. You also know that the people on these apps are looking for a partner, and you don't need to worry about figuring out whether someone is single or not. Connection with people you wouldn't normally meet or have access to, and a broader pool that expands your world.
Yes. So it's really interesting. I feel like the main benefit that everyone talked about for online dating was this connection with people you wouldn't normally meet. You get to see more people. And it's crazy, even like we set our area to where we actually live. There's so many people in our area looking for partners. I guess everyone in the world in their 20s is...
Even two married people were looking for partners. It's crazy.
Supposedly. But yeah, so that's a massive benefit. And I wonder also, this is not from what people have said, but in the olden days, people used to go to, what is it called? They're like third spaces. Like they would go to the milk bar or church or a
really
dance.
Old.
I don't
the
know.
milk bar.
This is from Back to the Future. But they would go to these places looking for someone.
Yeah.
And I wonder, because of online dating apps, are we not going to those places and looking? Is it because of online dating apps, or is it just because our society is more like we have access to everything right here? We don't need to go out and interact with people.
Well, I think that's a really genuine insight. I think to your exact point, there's less people going to these places, and we've seen that as a general issue in society as a whole. So of course it makes sense that it's harder and harder to meet people, particularly now that more and more people are doing it online. You're more and more isolated. Social circles are getting smaller. Meeting people naturally through those sort of environments, they don't really exist in the same way. So it's obviously driving people to these places, which I guess is also just making the problem worse.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Obviously, everyone's saying it's a benefit that you get to connect with people. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't go on dating apps. We didn't have to because we met when we were 18. Like that was so lucky.
I was actually 17.
No, you weren't. You were 18.
I was 17.
No, you weren't.
Was I 18?
Yeah, it was the 21st of September.
I'm so wrong. I'm sorry. Never question your wife.
Thank you.
So there's a little tip for everyone. Tip for young players. Never question your wife. Your wife is always correct.
Yes. But I feel like we should also be conscious of trying to go out more and those things. But anyway, that's not the point of this question. The point of this question is the benefits.
Yes.
And a benefit is that you can get to meet more people, which is excellent.
I think there's also like a point of being really targeted with what you want as well. Because I think sometimes in general, if you're not super conscious of who you're looking for, you kind of go out and you might not really know what exactly it is that you want. And you might end up in a relationship that maybe isn't exactly what you were really going for long term because you didn't have the opportunity to think about it more deeply. And one of the responses that we got said about how it allows you to really target, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I want, and ensure that when you do go down that route, you're really intentional about where it is that you're headed.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing that people talked about was the convenience of online dating. You don't need to work up the courage to talk to someone in person. Again, I feel like it's good if we do go back to that kind of style where you talk to people. But of course, it's more convenient to just message people, and then it also saves time as well.
Yeah, and it takes away, I think, one of probably the largest barriers to people meeting people, which is the like approaching stage, the courting. Like it's really difficult. It's really awkward. And the main thing is like the fear of rejection. I feel like the dating apps, and this is based on the kind of things that we're hearing, like the dating apps take away that rejection aspect as clearly like, yes, you go through and reject people, but you don't see that somebody rejected your profile.
Yeah, good point.
And so whereas in regular life, if you go up to somebody, there's a certain chance that they go, sorry, not interested. And you have to deal with that kind of awkward embarrassment. And it takes away that main barrier, which I guess opens you up to a lot more opportunity to meet people.
Yeah. And something interesting, which is like, again, kind of obvious, but I hadn't thought about it before, is that everyone on there is single. You know everyone's single. You know everyone's looking for something.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But, you know, so everyone is there with the same intention, or they've said, okay, my intention is short-term, long-term, marriage, whatever. So you don't need to try and figure it out on the fly when you're meeting them.
And just to kind of, I guess, add maybe the opposing point, I wonder, definitely a good thing. I wonder, do you think, does that result in people being too narrow-minded potentially? Does it mean that you get too targeted to like, no, this person isn't in like what I want potentially? Is it a bit like, oh no, like obviously it's good to be able to frame up what you want. What do you think? Do you think, is there a situation where like maybe we go like, oh no, this person's under 6 foot, and because we can like target based on that, does that then mean that we're not maybe meeting people that originally we might not have thought that we were relevant or super keen on?
Well, in the challenges of online dating, one of the people we interviewed actually said that this was something that they struggled with, that you can become targeted. But then someone else said a benefit is you can broaden your horizons.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just about intentionality and being willing to meet someone who's slightly different from what you have in your mind, while also not compromising on core values that are important to you. And I think like that's important in general dating as well, but even more so in the online sphere.
So well said.
So well said.
What are some of the other benefits that we were able to call out?
Okay, this one's kind of funny and it comes into that awkwardness of getting rejected. But someone said that if it doesn't work out, you don't have to see them again. And that's a benefit because if you ask out someone that you already know, a friend or a colleague, if it doesn't work out, it can be quite awkward.
Yes, good point.
But because you're asking out a stranger and the purpose is only to meet them to see if they're a suitable life partner, it's less awkward if you're like, yeah, it's not right, because you're both on the same page that was why you were getting to know them anyway.
Really good point.
I don't know. I found that quite amusing, I guess.
I think another thing that somebody spoke about was the benefit of like time saving that comes from being on a dating app. Like obviously in general, we're getting more and more busy. A lot of us are working and it can be so hard balancing like life commitments. Then also I think about this so often. I'm so tired like 90% of the time. I feel like all I do is like work and it's like, imagine if I've been reflecting on this. Like imagine if we didn't have someone, how would we find someone right now in our lives? Like,
ain't nobody got time for that.
We have no time for it. And so like after like a long day of work, then trying to go out and be the best version of yourself for somebody that maybe you might not even like know yet. So then you're trying to like, it must be exhausting and such a difficult thing to do. And what this person spoke about was the benefit of being able to say, go home. You can at your own time. People
in
spoke
your
about
pajamas.
being in your PJs. Like it helps kind of allow you to still have that part of your life progress with everything else that's going on, and you can find dates that suit around your own time. So one of, I guess, another real benefit that you can get from online dating is really helping manage your time.
Something else that people said was a real benefit was that you get good at selling or presenting the best version of yourself. And I think that was a challenge that we found even just setting up profiles. Like obviously when we tried online dating, we didn't message anyone, we didn't like anyone, we didn't do any of that stuff. But even just setting it up, and it's a challenge, it's very hard to just make it like, what's it called? Distill all of that information in such a short
fashion.
But I guess over time, you do have to get quite good at choosing the most important things for you, the best things about yourself, the best photos, showing your personality, and you know what your package is over time, I guess.
Well, and it's kind of a good life skill in general. Like being able to sell yourself quickly and having that frame is something that you'll use across the rest of your life. And so being able to think in that way is a real positive.
Yeah. Something else was that your intuition gets better and that you also become more emotionally resilient. So with all of this rejection, we're turning it around into a positive, that you become emotionally resilient and you're able to read people better because you're reading so many people more than you would in everyday life.
Well, and I guess you learn to start to see habits as well, right? Like because I'm guessing through online dating as well, you just interact with more people than you would in a regular environment. You start to see potentially consistent trends of, oh, okay, this is maybe not going to end in the right way. And you gather that information through that experience.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Shall we move on to everyone's favorite segment?
Everyone's favorite segment.
It's question time with Nava and Kian. Yeah.
That was better than last episode.
I was going to say I feel like I was particularly bad.
Oh, I was
so
actively worse last time.
I was definitely worse this time. So maybe we're like
it
balancing
evens it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So this question, I want us to very much get the vibe of where your married besties figuring it out with you.
Yes.
We don't know the answers, but we're exploring the answers to hopefully help you come up with what you think the best answer is, especially for this question.
So the question that we were sent in was, my partner and I both want to get married, but we don't feel ready right now. Is that a bad sign?
Is that a bad sign? I think this is such an interesting question. And I would like to frame it by a quote.
Okay.
So this quote is by Abdul Baha, who is the son of the founder of the Baha'i faith. And it's all about the purpose of marriage, what marriage is. Okay, so it goes like this. Baha'i marriage is the commitment of the two parties, one to the other, and their mutual attachment of mind and heart. Each must, however, exercise the utmost care to become thoroughly acquainted with the character of the other. that the binding covenant between them may be a tie that will endure forever.
Mm.
So I found this really interesting because of the exercise, the utmost care to become thoroughly acquainted.
Yeah.
Because if we're thinking about the purpose of marriage is to stay forever. So I think it is important to be really sure.
Yeah. Well, I, as everything as well, I think there's understanding that balance. I think you don't want to be in a situation where you're like, oh, I'm not sure, but like maybe let's just give it like another year or like another 2 years, and then maybe I'll know everything about them entirely. I think there's a judgment call to be made about where you get to that level where you feel thoroughly acquainted with the person that you're looking to marry, and understanding all their good qualities, and also understanding maybe the
potential challenges that you will work through naturally.
Exactly.
As part of the relationship.
And maybe figure out some of the methods that you have to doing it. I don't think it means that you have to, have been having like massive fights to know like, oh, I'm not going to get married to this person until we have like a big, huge fight.
Yeah.
But I think at least knowing that you are able to deal with conflict and seeing what that's like, and seeing them in as many contexts as you can really helps. Because like even like for Nava and I, like when I first met Nava and was getting to know her, she was living out of home. She was living in a different state to the rest of her family. So me being able to see what she was like with her family and how that interaction works. Because so often whenever we go like back to family, things like always change. We talk about it quite a lot. I always get really grumpy when I'm back with my parents. Sorry, guys.
Sorry to Keon's parents.
But yeah, so it's interesting. I think seeing them in those range of like in a range of different examples. I would say in terms of that idea of like you don't feel ready, I also feel like if you're not feeling entirely sure, there's no harm in just giving it a little bit of extra time. You don't want to go into something being like, oh, 50-50, but I think it will make this person happy. Or like, particularly if you start feeling pressure from the outside and you don't feel ready, I think that's a big reason to kind of say, okay, stop. You obviously need to be fully committed to what it is that you're doing, because it is a lifelong commitment.
Yeah.
It's longer than a lifelong commitment.
And I feel like it comes into the reasons why you don't feel ready. So this person said they both want to get married, but they don't feel ready yet. Okay, why? Is it something that like it's a gut feeling that saying it's not right? Or is it you just want to get to know each other better? Because I think it's just really important to think about the reasons why. And going back to this quote, the reason we're getting to know each other is that so marriage may be a tie that will endure forever. So I stand by this, that it's much better to take your time before you get married than to get divorced. Of course it is, because going through a divorce is such a traumatic experience that ideally, if you can take the time, and even though it might be hard, until the second you're married, you're not married yet. So you can always make that judgment call if you need to. But yeah, I guess it's always up to the reason why are you feeling a bit unsure. And if it's just you're not ready yet because society is telling you have to get married and you want to get to know them, I feel like take your time, get to know them.
I also wonder like as well, sometimes the feeling of not being ready could also be like people think that I'm too young to get married. Or could it be like people think that like in general, like a lot of the times now, we spoke last episode how people are getting married later and later in life. And then there's this perception of I need to have a job or a house first, or like there are these prerequisites before you're like allowed to get married. And I also like, I would disagree with that. So I feel like really boiling it down to, well, what are those reasons that you don't feel fully ready? Is it something that's being externally put on you, or is it something that you actually feel yourself that you need to grow and divulge in? So having that reflection, and I think particularly having an open reflection with your partner, because the other challenge is like you don't want to feel pressure from your partner as well if there's something that you're not feeling super comfortable with. So trying to have that open dialogue and explain, maybe like verbalize your reasons why. Maybe your partner's able to put you at ease. Maybe there's something that you're worried about that you're holding on internally. There's actually not that big of an issue if you speak to your partner about it. So I think being as open as you can and really delving down to, well, what are those real challenges? And yeah, to Nava's point as well, if it is something that you're like a bit unsure about, there's no harm in just making sure that you feel ready and comfortable and set with balance, obviously, without it being like, I need 5 years to know that, like, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, amazing. That's our question time. Thank you for sending in your question. If you have any other questions, chuck them in the comments, or we'll tell you other ways you can do it at the end of the episode.
Lovely. So let's get back into online dating.
Online dating, or jumping back into
jumping back in. And jumping into what people said were their tips for others online dating. So
take notes. If you want to try online dating, this is the curated experience tips from a whole bunch of people.
Pens and papers out.
Pens and papers.
Study time.
Study time. Okay. So in terms of tips, the longer quote that we've got is, on one hand, you need to view it as a fun game to play so that you don't become demoralized when you get rejected or don't like the people you see. So fun game to play.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you need to recognize that any one of the hundreds of people you see might be the future love of your life, which means you still need to take it seriously.
Like what a piece of like wisdom that comes in.
Shakespeare.
Like such a fascinating depiction because and it's so real. Like the gamification aspect of it is such a key thing. And treating it like that, I guess, is probably, it's really healthy, right? It stops you from becoming too committed. And it's a great tip, but it also speaks on the real challenge that exists with it. How do you find that balance between taking it light and easy, then also knowing that at any stage, this could be the person you spend the rest of your life with?
Yeah.
It's such an interesting insight.
Because we did have quite a few people say like, take it easy, have fun with it, make it fun. But then other people have actually found their spouses on there. So if it's just having fun and you're like, next, you could be missing out on a whole bunch of amazing people. Okay, what's another tip that someone gives us?
I feel like one of the main things that stood out to me was this idea of getting off the app as soon as you can, and the importance of once you've found someone, the sooner you can get away from that sort of buffet of choice, the better that relationship is going to be with the person that you're meeting with. Multiple people spoke about that being a real key tip in general. So I think the sooner that you can get off the app, and another point we had as well was the sooner that you can actually meet with people while that's like early, and so that you're not getting distracted by all these other choices around you, really helps according to the research.
According to the research, people said that they would like say, oh, I'm interested in you. If you want to chat more, reach out to me on Messenger or reach out to me on Instagram. Here's my number. So then the people who are actually interested in you, rather than just being on the dating apps, you actually get to know. And that when you meet in person, sooner rather than later, it doesn't fizzle out. Something else that people talked about, we've kind of already mentioned this, but was optimizing your profile for the kind of person that you want as well. Like if I'm searching for someone like Kian, what kind of things would someone like Kian be looking for? So for me, even though I might feel the pull to post like, I don't know, bikini pics or whatever, because everyone else on the app is, maybe the kind of person that I'm looking for doesn't actually want that. So I found that interesting, and it's so true what people said. Optimize your profile for who you're looking for and be genuine to who you are.
And I think that also brings in the idea of patience as well, right? Like if you are looking for a particular person, sticking it out a little bit, like maybe you're not getting heaps and heaps of likes. And there's an example that somebody wrote in about like their friend getting like multiple matches and dates a week. And he'd been like going for 3 weeks and hadn't got any dates. And this person ended up finding his now fiance as like the first date that he went on. So like having that patience of this is like I'm not going to try and game the system, but really being steadfast of this is what I want, and not letting your ego be maybe too hurt by like, oh, well, like I need to get that sort of, those likes and that validation is a really, really difficult thing to do, but really key, I think, to finding success on these apps.
I wonder, and no one talked about this, but would it be useful to have your notifications off? Because even with Instagram, say you get likes on Instagram, I've turned my Instagram notifications off because every time I post it, I'd be like, how many people liked it? How many people liked it? I mean, it also could mean you miss people if your notifications aren't on, but I wonder, that's my random piece of advice with absolutely no justification.
Well, it goes both ways, right, as well, because I saw a lot of people were saying like it's really difficult because people on these apps don't respond for like days sometimes. But like, I think in terms of from the personal perspective, I think trying to find the right person, and to that same point of getting off the app eventually, I think that's a really good insight.
Yeah. Okay. Another piece of advice, women were the ones who said this, but I think it's also a good general piece of advice, is be safe. When you're going on a date, give your location to a trusted friend and meet in a public place. I think because if I was going on a date with you after we met in person, I already know who you are. But catfishing, like we literally could have catfished a whole bunch of people with our dodgy looking profiles. You don't actually know who these people are. So it's an obvious one, but
general security.
Be safe.
Another one that people said a lot, which was really interesting, was taking breaks from it, because it can be such a sort of controlling and like it's really addictive. You can imagine how it's like there's always someone better for me. Taking breaks from that cycle, stepping away from it for your own mental health, but also I think for clearing your mind and coming at it with like a fresh set of eyes, taking breaks as you go on. And another bit with that people spoke about was like the idea of treating every interaction as a win. It's like even if you go down and you have your first date and it's like, oh, I'm not really loving this, like not being like, oh, well, that sucks, but being like, okay, well, this is a great opportunity for me to meet a friend, or like just treating it as a positive, trying as much as you can to treat it as a positive experience as you go through the process.
Yeah, this person also said treating it as a way to get to know more about the human existence or something. Get to know more people, broaden your horizons on what humans are like. It was so cute and nice. Okay, we have this random quote from someone that we enjoyed. Would you like to read it out to us?
I will read it out. Don't take it too seriously and have super low expectations for a guy. Majority of the people you speak to won't be ideal, so you just got to stick it through and find that special human that exists somewhere. If you're a super handsome 6'4" male doctor, then ignore everything I just wrote.
I really liked it. This person's answers were particularly amusing.
Very funny.
So if we do end up changing the names and giving out the big document, enjoy these.
We'll call him like funny guy or something.
Funny guy. If you're funny guy, thanks for your responses. But yeah, very cute. Stick it out and find that special human that exists somewhere.
All right. So the final question we then asked these people was the big question. Would they recommend online dating?
And remember, we have people who had horrible experiences with online dating, people who are still in the trenches of it, people who found their person, people who are married to the person they found, a whole bunch of different experiences. And we had everyone basically said the same thing.
Yeah.
It was 2 words.
Yes, but. And that was
not your butt.
So this is the longer quote, which is that yes, especially to people who are short on time and or those whose social circles don't offer many opportunities to meet new people. I say that with a caveat that you shouldn't stop trying to meet people the old-fashioned way. Just consider this as another tool to use during your search.
I found that really nice because you're not just living in your little dark den, like trying to find matches. You're still trying to live in the real world. But we're using this as a tool to meet more people, to broaden our horizons. And someone else said, like, if you're in your later 20s and you haven't found someone yet and you're actively searching for someone, that's when they would recommend it. So that was interesting too.
Yeah. And on that like voice of yes, but I think it was just being really like thinking really critically and being really intentional about exactly what you're doing. Because to the points that we've said, there are lots of benefits that come to online dating, but there is also so many challenges that come with it. So the more intentional you can be, to use the podcast phrase, the better your experience is going to be and the more careful you can be and the more guarded you can be to make sure that you don't maybe get hurt by the process or it isn't a negative experience.
So here are some of the experiences people said with their yes buts. They said if you're too busy for a love life, that online dating is really good. They said it's better to get out of your comfort zone and meet people in person at events. But if you're very busy, this is a great way to still meet people and not neglect that aspect of your life.
Another one was to see if it's really for you, give it a go and see, oh, well, maybe this isn't the right thing for me and be really open to going, well, maybe this isn't the place that I want to do it with. The other one was to really see if it is for you and if it suits your needs. I think giving it that go, but if it isn't clicking, if you aren't vibing, feeling free to step away.
Someone else said, yes, we would recommend online dating if you're clear about your intentions with it. What are you trying to get out of it? And also then to be patient and wait to find that special person.
Yeah. And another point that was very similar to that was not expecting it to happen, not going onto the app and being, I'm going to find the love of my life or everyone's going to like me straight away, but taking that time with it.
Yeah. And then the final one was, yes, do it, but with caution and the right mindset. I think it's kind of saying the same thing. Everyone's like, yes, just be conscious of all the factors that influence you. With this, I have a thought. I've had a thought. I've had a thought. I am your token old Persian woman in terms of...
At the ripe old age of 24.
At the ripe old age of 24. In terms of, I love matchmaking.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
I feel like all married people, like once you're married, you're like, okay.
I need to find someone for everyone else. I want everyone to be happy.
Yeah.
And it comes from a good place. But when I was thinking about online dating, people are going out there trying to find someone based on the algorithm of an app, right? I wonder why. I feel like people aren't as willing to accept a match from a matchmaker or someone. Like if Kian and I weren't married and Kian and I were good friends and he was like, I'm trying to find someone, I know Kian very well. So I feel like I'm better placed than an app to match him with someone else I know very well. But I feel like we're less willing these days to then go out and meet that person or accept that idea.
I feel like hearing that, I feel like the reason maybe comes down to like, at least for me, it would come down to this idea of control. And I feel like there's this idea that, or maybe it's this illusion that dating apps give us of I am in control of my destiny. I am in control of who it is that I want to meet. I have full control of this situation. Maybe sometimes with like recommendations from friends, it's a bit like, well, I don't really like know. Like I'm not the one that's making the choice here. Someone else is making it for me. And I wonder if this is people maybe prefer this idea of maybe being a little bit more
But
like I'm the one that's owning it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, in a way, the app is still in control, but you have more options. Like, if I know you well, I'd probably recommend 1 or 2 people to you. Whereas with the app, there's hundreds and hundreds, and you can, at the end, make that judgment call.
And also to the point of everything we've spoken about in this episode, like there's things like it's a little bit more awkward maybe to meet people in person, or there's a little bit more riding on it, or it's like I might have to see them again, or does that jeopardize the relationship with my friend if I go out with them and like, and then it doesn't work anymore. So such an interesting insight into all of the things that are happening across dating apps and the pros that come with it, the cons that come with it, and maybe even the way that just shifts our general thoughts about dating as a whole. Are these dating apps in general causing us to be maybe less open in general to meeting people the old-fashioned way, to use the term?
Maybe. And then something else I only briefly wanted to touch on, because obviously we know with dating apps, you can set your intention, but as well coming at it from a religious perspective or a faith perspective, especially when things like chastity rules are in place before you get married, I feel like that could be a real challenge as well when meeting people. That makes you need to be even more patient and more intentional. But a lot of the people who we've spoken to are religious and have met their person online. So it's definitely still possible. But we also have an interesting insight from someone that we might share.
So the insight was that, and this was about like talking about like their faith on these dating apps. I felt that early on in meeting people, I should be honest about the faith being important in my life. If that's a problem for them, better they know sooner rather than later. Also, I didn't want people to judge the Baha'i faith just because it didn't work out with me. One solution would be not to mention the faith for a few dates and wait and see if there was further prospects of a successful relationship. But it's not the path that I've chosen to go down, but it might be a wiser path to take.
It's a really interesting insight because obviously if you're a member of a religion, you want to portray that positively. And if you're starting by saying, this is who I am, and if for some reason it doesn't work out and the person gets offended or whatever, it could be easy to worry that they'll judge the religion as a whole. But I wonder if people have had experiences as religious people on these dating apps. What's your approach?
Yeah.
How have you found it? As we said, a lot of people that we interviewed were, and a lot of people that we interviewed weren't either. And everyone boiled it down to being intentional and being specific about the kind of person you were looking for and being patient as well. So it's very interesting. I have a final question for you. Based on all of this, would you say online dating works?
I would say yes.
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 Okay.
What do you think?
I mean, I agree. Yes. I agree with everyone. Yes, but.
Yes, but.
I would say don't use it instead of meeting people in person. And if you can broaden your in-person horizons, meet more people, go to more spaces, excellent. But why not use it as an extra tool?
Perfect. So I think that concludes our episode. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and with this season, now YouTube at That Married Couple Podcast.
Yes, and we want to hear from you no matter what stage of life you're in. Ask us questions, send in your tips and experiences, and let us know what you want to hear on the podcast. Give us a cheeky DM or click the link in our bio for an anonymous form.
And if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a like on YouTube or a 5-star review on Spotify.
Thank you so much for listening. Lots of love from Napa
and Kian.
Bye.
See you next time.